So he's considered a trickster. This guy is like, he looks like a male ram, okay? And a male ram, it's a sheep. So when the sun starts to descend down, when it gets to here, it's balanced in Libra, weighed and balanced in Libra, and then comes down here and is stung by the scorpion. In the Bible, Scorpio is an archetype for Judas. He's a trickster. The guy I'm talking about, this hunchback Yei, is associated with October, which is Scorpio. In Scorpio, Judas is considered the betrayer or the trickster of the Son of God. And so the story's just, it is so related to Judas, which is really interesting because he's got ram horns, and a ram is a sheep, and Judas was like a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Imagine if there was an extended period of time where you couldn't get access to your money in the bank. Your credit cards, your debit cards didn't work. The only thing stores will accept is cash or gold or silver. Well, if you've got what's called junk silver, like silver coins from before the 60s approximately, they're about 90% silver. That's a pretty easy way to exchange monetary value for something. And gold is hot. Silver is hot. Platinum is hot. Precious metals right now are extremely sought after. And the amount of silver needed for the solar boom, solar panels, especially by 2035, just by next year, the amount of solar panels that people are going to have right now. And silver is needed for every solar panel. And so you've got precious metals that are not only being usurped up by big banks, but they're also needed in electronics and cars. And so there's a lot of opportunity in precious metals. It's always good to diversify. It's always good to be prepared, not scared. Noble Gold Investments is offering Leak Project listeners, if you've got a 401 or IRA and you convert into precious metals through Noble Gold Investments and you qualify, you can get either a 10-ounce solid silver American flag bar, or you can get 10 of these 1-ounce Trump rounds solid silver, and those will be gifted to you at no additional cost. Find out how to qualify. And also, they have great pricing on gold, silver, precious metals. They have free ebooks, how to get out of the rat race. You'll talk to somebody in person that's very knowledgeable and friendly. They'll walk you through the whole process. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Give them a call. You'll thank me later. 1-877-646-5347. All right, let's get back to the podcast. Hey, everybody. Rex Bear Leak Project. How the heck are you? Beautiful day today here in Southern Colorado. It's also pretty nice out there in Southern Utah. We've got Angela Nalder with us. Angela, how the heck are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. Well, it looks like you have a pretty cool slideshow presentation for us today. And I want to share with the audience how we met. So Angela and I met at the Crow Canyon Petroglyph Tour. And she started pointing out how certain petroglyphs look a lot like symbols in the zodiac, constellations, star constellations, and I find that fascinating. There has been a lot of decodes with certain petroglyphs that appear to be related to an event that took place, some type of major solar flare or a multitude of solar flares that created sprites in the heavens. You can actually look at these red sprites now on NASA and several other websites that show what appears to be these massive beings, but they're, it's light formations, it's plasma in the sky. Imagine taking that and multiplying it by 10,000 or 1,000,000 times, and the whole world would actually see something like that. A lot of the petroglyphs that have been decoded appear to show some type of event that was causing all of those sprites and all of that plasma to take place in the atmosphere. So I've followed that path with a lot of these petroglyphs now for several years. Well, a whole new level of information was brought to the table recently when Angela started connecting some of these petroglyphs and kachinas from various tribes to certain star constellations. And I thought to myself, this is amazing. And since then, the past few months, Angela and I have shared a bunch of information with these petroglyphs and symbols. And the information she's brought to the table has just taken the whole theory, the whole idea of ancient language connected to the stars. And there's some very strong evidence that the natives and the ancients knew far more about the stars and used petroglyphs as like. So I really am looking forward to you breaking this down for us. Now, I'm hoping that you're going to share with us, maybe you could even, because you sent me some videos showing the elliptic path and these different paths with the stars and the zodiac. I know that our audience would love to see that also. If there's a way, maybe you could do some of that with us. But thank you so much for being a guest on Leak Project. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's so what I wanted to be able to do is to kind of show the foundation of how I was able to even see these things. And that lies in the path of the sun along the ecliptic, and even some what people would consider astrology based, but astrology is just kind of the symbols for nature when we really look at it. So I want to be able to explain a little bit what I think that the ancients knew that they went by. And in order to do that, we have to understand the path of the sun. So that's where I want to be able to start.
Great.
So does that work?
That works. It makes me think of the way.
Yes.
I've heard so many theories about Jesus and what his time was like when he was here. But one of the things I have heard is he followed the way. And I wonder if that's connected to the path of the sun in any way.
Yes. What I found is that the sun itself is a beautiful emblem of Jesus and his life, because I'm going to show you how he stays in this perfect path. And Jesus was always considered to be like the perfect man, or to follow a perfect path of exactness, you know? And the sun does that every day, every year. It's predictable. It's the hero's path. It's the way, you know, it's Knights of the Round Table. It's pretty much everything. So
cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It seems to decode so many things, and it's something that anybody should be able to follow.
Yes. Yep. Cool. You just need the key, and the key is the path of the sun along the ecliptic, basically.
It sounds simple. Now I'm going to have you explain it to us, though.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Let me bring up this map to kind of show what I'm talking about here. So right here is the Tropic of Cancer. Down here is the Tropic of Capricorn. And then here we have the equator, or middle of the earth, basically. So this sine wave here is what the sun follows. And then it keeps doing that sine wave over and over and over again. And I don't know if you can see it or not, or if I'd have to zoom in, but there's a little glyph here. And that glyph, okay, up above the boat, right on the ecliptic line, it'll be right there.
Okay. There's a glyph there?
Did you see it? Mm-hmm.
See something.
Okay, see if I can get closer. Oh, dang, that puts it out.
It's like a little snake or something, maybe, or I can't really tell what it is, but I can see something there.
Yeah, okay, well, it's the glyph of Aries.
Oh, that's the glyph of Aries. Okay.
Correct. So I like this map because it does show that glyph of Aries right there. So that's showing when the sun first comes up on the ecliptic. That's considered Aries. So anyway, it starts in Aries and it continues to climb up. And this is March 21st. This is the equinox. This right here is September 21st, which is the fall equinox. This point here at the very top, when the sun reaches its highest point right here, is the summer solstice. When it reaches its lowest point here, that's the winter solstice. So we have equinox, equinox, solstice, solstice. The reason I point those out is because they are incredibly important days. Here, these days here, there's equal day, equal night. Here, the solstice appears to stand still, and it's at its highest point. The sun is considered to be enthroned there. It's received its greatest glory because it's at the highest point, highest and brightest point that it can be on the ecliptic. So the ancients saw this path of the sun, and they divided it up into 30 degrees like this. I'll show you. See these 12 sections here? These are all divided up into 30 degrees. And then you can see the sine wave here. The important thing is you can see how these are divided kind of into like angles. Angles are really, really important. In fact, in the Bible, before Constantine, angles used to be angels. Angels instead of, it used to be angles instead of angels. I apologize. So when we talk about the angels of God, they're talking about the angles, because each angle and the way that light penetrates the earth brings forth different gifts or different things. For example, let me go back to that map. Something that the ancients took into great consideration is the way that the sun moves and the gifts and the garb, if you will, that it portrays as it is rising and falling. So, for example, when you look at Egypt and they talk about Horus, Ra, Set, Osiris, we're kind of taught that they like worshipped these guys. Maybe they did, but I kind of see it as they knew nature, because all of those are emblems of the sun. Horus is when you look on the horizon and you see the sun come up on the horizon, that's Horus. And then when the sun is directly above your head, they called him Ra, because he was radiant, he was enthroned, he was glorious there. And then, of course, when he was setting, the sun was considered to be Set. And then directly below your feet, that would be Osiris of the night, the underworld. So it's all a representation of one being, of one God, which is represented by the sun. So when I look at the petroglyphs, I can see that the Native Americans also understood that. And they also gave their own archetype or representation of the different angles of the sun. And they glorified these certain days that I'm talking about, the equinoxes and the solstices. It looks like that's really what they were celebrating, is those days.
With that in mind, how would you take that symbol and know that it's connected to those days unless you were brought up to know the meaning in your culture or you learned about it along the way? Is there like a certain time? Is that symbol going to reflect the time, the equinox? Are these petroglyphs at a place where they will reflect the time of year as we're talking about here, or the time of day based upon shadows, or where the sun, like the sun rays hitting it at a specific time of day, so it's like a clock?
So are you asking how they would know the symbols, or how they would know the time?
Yeah, how that would the symbol itself show the time based upon where it's located on the rock wall and when the sun hits it?
Maybe. I know that there have been petroglyphs like that. Like I think Diamond shared on his page this spiral that they had found that was recording the sun and its progress throughout the sky. There are different measurements that can be used. One of them is, you know how some people will stick a stick in the ground, you know, and then they'll follow the shadows, right? Well, anciently and in Native American, I would be really, really surprised. I'm still learning a lot about them, but they know that this path here, you see how Aries is there, also runs throughout our body. So they know when the sun comes up and it's in Aries, it's hitting your head. Let me show you. This is how that sine wave goes through our body. Aries is in the head, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Did that show it?
Yeah.
Okay, did you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Native Americans knew that this sine wave also travels throughout the body. So their way of knowing these signs, or the way that they're going to have their kind of their own way of portraying, you know, where it's in the body, where it's hitting on the planet, that kind of thing. But they were very aware of the positions of the sun and the angles of the sun. There's no doubt, because you can see it throughout their petroglyphs. They use a lot of the same archetypes, and because of the energy that is given out with each angle of the sun, there's kind of this metaphysical inner knowing in humanity that tends to give the same archetypes in a way to each position of the sun. I've noticed that in everything that I've read. Like, generally, if it's the sun like in Aries, or the sun just coming up above the ecliptic, there's going to be horns involved, because it has to do with the head. So like when we saw that Yei, you know, and he had the horns, well, I know that's probably going to be associated with Aries, Taurus, Capricorn, or directly across the zodiac, in a corresponding sign.
So what Angela's talking about right now is a petroglyph that we saw in Crow Canyon that had horns. And the Yei is a Navajo deity that has horns, and she's connecting that to Aries? Or what did you say?
I think it's probably actually Scorpio.
Scorpio.
But because that, yep, because Scorpio is, can we pause for a second? I'll draw something on the whiteboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I just drew basically what that map showed on here, because I want people to see where the zodiac came from, because a lot of people think the zodiac is woo-woo. And I think this might help answer some of your questions about how would they know the signs and symbols and things like that, okay?
Great.
So the sun, we have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Capricornian, Aquarius, Pisces. So this is March 21st, September 21st, June 21st, December 21st. These are the holy days. These days are holy, okay? Now, this is a linear graph of a circular graph. So if I bring this part right here and I bring it over here to make it a linear graph, that's what the zodiac is made from. It is made from the signs that are within this path of the sun, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and the sun never goes outside of those perimeters. These signs are what is within the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Always. No matter what. Aries is always in the path of the sun, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, all of these. So that's how the zodiac's made. Just linear graph made into a circular one.
Like when you're talking about the sun and being in these constellations, and they don't go outside of them, you're saying? Like, explain that more.
Okay, so there's a bunch of constellations everywhere. This is only like a very thin strip of the sky. I think it's I can't remember what it is, but it's like 17 degrees or something of the sky. I'd have to look it up for sure. So there's constellations everywhere throughout this whole thing. You've got the Milky Way, you've got the polar star system, you've got everything outside of these boundaries. Lots of stars outside of there. But the constellations are what's within this path. Always. That's why the sun's considered strictly obedient in the path that it follows. It never strays from here. And these constellations remain also within that band.
Like, how would you measure it? How would you measure the sun in conjunction to where it's at in these constellations to be able to see what appears to be a sine wave within a certain band of the universe, per se? Okay,
so here's something that's really important. These were used as, so in the age of Aries, when the sun was in Aries, on March 21st, okay, I got to talk about the ages for a minute, okay, to answer your question. These are not, okay, these are not only constellations. The positions of the sun on the ecliptic were also named the same as Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. So we're talking about two different things here. We have the star pattern that's behind the sun, and then the position of the sun on the ecliptic that shares the same name. For example, when the sun comes up over the horizon and it's in that position, let's say this is the horizon, okay? This position of the sun is called Aries. No matter what star system is behind the sun, this is always the position of Aries. This is always the position of Taurus, the position of Gemini, etc., etc., etc. That'd actually be on here. But so you've got two different, almost like languages in a way going on, because you've got the stars behind the sun, and then you also have the positions of the sun that were named after the constellations that were behind them when they made this up, which is in the age of Aries. Does that make sense?
It made sense until the very last part. Could you repeat the last part?
Okay, so this is all from like 2,000 years ago, or so.
Okay.
That's kind of where this system is like coming from, where it starts with like the age of Aries.
Okay.
It's probably more ancient than that, but the system that we know now, where Aries is here, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, happened when the sun was in Aries.
Gotcha.
On March 21st.
Okay.
So this is where Vedic and like Vedic or Jyotish, Vedic and Jyotish are based on where the sun is in the stars. So, but Western astrology is based on the position of the sun in the sky. They just happen to have the same name. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So that's really important to distinguish because there's different forms of this science, different ways of looking at it. But if we look at Aries as a position of the sun, just like the Egyptians did, that's Horus. It's on the horizon. That's Horus. When the sun's directly above our head, it's Ra. Okay? This is similar to that in that does not change. The position of the sun in the sky does not change, but the stars behind the sun change. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
You did very well.
Okay. So now, these archetypes, when the sun is in these positions, you see these angles? These are all angles. Okay? And angles produce different frequency, different have you seen all that stuff where like sound and frequency and everything is like all the same?
Well, I've seen frequencies that create different patterns like somatics.
Yes. This is the same thing that's happening within these angles. The position of the sun, they would watch this position of the sun. They also watch the stars. But the most important thing was the position of the sun and what it was doing. Because on March 21st, they knew the sun was producing equal day, equal night. September 21st, it was producing equal day, equal night. On June 21st and December 21st, it appeared to no longer climb and go straight across. That's why the crab is up here at the top, because it's a side-walking creature. The sun appears to kind of stand still in a way in that it stops climbing and moves like sideways like a crab and then continues his descent down. So they focus more on these holy days and what was produced in these holy days. So in Aries, you can see that there is a certain magnetic and electric response from plants, animals, from everything when the sun is in the position of Aries. Have you seen the flowers when the sun first comes up? Yeah. So they awaken, right? Every day it's the same thing. They awaken and they follow the sun like this, right? And then they kind of go down. Like the flowers and everything, they follow. That's because of the angle of the sun. The angle of the sun is producing a specific response within our body and within nature. Whoop.
Right on. That's what I'm talking about. That makes sense that way. Like you totally get it. How do you argue that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great way to describe how the sun physically affects life.
Mm-hmm.
All forms of life.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. And the somatics aspect, the angles meeting a specific frequency. Well, then if you knew that frequency and you know what frequency resonates with certain motives and actions, then you would know as what we would look at today as like a true magician, not a street magician, but somebody that's using higher magic. That in and of itself would be higher magic, because you would be the way of the sun. You would follow that path. You would follow those patterns, and you would know that those patterns would correlate with specific actions at those times. And if you followed that harmoniously, like the Jedi probably did, that's probably where the Jedi came from. The actual Jedi, the ancient Egyptian that would be compared to, like, if you watch Star Wars, kind of in the Jedi. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually where they got the concept from.
Yeah.
Use your mind, Quaid.
Yeah.
Quaid.
Exactly. Now I need to go over. So we talked a little bit about the angles and how depending on the position of the sun, there's a certain angle or an angel that's produced. Okay. And that produces different things, and they all have a certain energetic expression, if you will. So that's where, so each one of these is like, let me show you. Can you see that okay still? So this would be what's considered cardinal, fixed, mutable. Hold on. I'm just going to give an example. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. So cardinal, Aries, that's kind of like the three, the god of three, if you will. Okay. So that stands
The
for
Trinity?
Yes. So in scripture, we get all this argument about what God is or what God isn't. So we get the religions that say it's three, it's Father, Son, Holy Ghost, right? It's and then you get those that say that it's four, like it's a quadruplicity. That all can be found here, and I'm going to show you how that is and why it's important to know this in order to know ourselves and know God and understand why is there one God? Why is there three gods? Why is he four? Why is he, the answer's it's all on here. So cardinal, that's like the initial pulse that the sun puts out. So the sun, when it comes up, it's a pulse. It's boom, that Aries fire, right? It comes out like a pulse, really strong, right? When that sun comes up, bam, and the flowers are like, hey, sun's here, right? And then when it gets to this more of a fixed position, everything kind of tends to relax. Everybody starts to eat, does more fixed, stable things, and then mutable is changing. Stuff starts to change. So it's cardinal, fixed, mutable, but it's also generation, operation, dissolution. God. It's an acronym, really. That's why we don't know the name of God, because everything generates, everything operates, and then everything kind of dissolves. And that goes around the whole system. Okay. So that's the tri-God, if you will, right? But then each one of these also has an element: fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. So this is also something you'll want to keep in mind when you're looking at petroglyphs, because they'll combine these elements, and like a fiery Aries or a fiery Leo. But one will be cardinal. The other will be, let's see, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed. So you're fixed, Leo, right? So that means you're serious when you make up your mind. Fiery and serious about it. Don't mess around. You are fixed in your decision. Okay. Cardinal is like, Aries fire's like, I'm going after it. Nothing's stopping me. You've decided you're going to keep that fire burning right there. Okay. So, and that's how you can kind of like know yourself too. Right. So anyway, but this is the fire, air, earth, water type thing. Okay. And that's Yod He Vah He, Jehovah. That's
How do you
the
get that connection?
That's the quadruplicity. I'll have to send it to you.
Okay.
I might be able to find it. It might be in Brian's book. I could look really quick. That guy Brian you interviewed, he made a book on Hebrew language.
You know what? Let's give Brian a shout out right now, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Brian Zhang and Brian Lang. So Zhang and Lang right here. You got a copy too. Yeah. It's a good book. It's a quick read, and it's also a really awesome reference. So you can reference it. Let's see here. Look at this one. This one's pretty cool. Gemini, the details on Gemini and the tarot and the constellation right there, the numerology, the symbology. That's really cool. What are your thoughts, Angela?
Yeah, so you were asking where I got the like Yod He Vah He Jehovah connection. I think it has to do with this with Hebrew and Greek. But that gives your listener something to go research. It's factual, you know. I just don't have it with me right now. I apologize. But in order to learn, this is a good place to begin. Is this book right here.
Yeah, right on.
Because it goes over the Hebrew and everything. That's the quadruplicity, you know, and so the God of three, the God of four, the God of one, all of the scriptures, they all talk about the exact same thing, which is everything that I'm showing you. They just are seeing it in different aspect. And in fact, when we were looking at the petroglyphs, Rex, you said, this is like their scriptures. Yes, exactly. Because the scriptures all have to do with this. And the like Jesus Christ's path follows this exact path. You can follow his life beautifully through the ecliptic. So just a quick example just to kind of show you. So here the sun is considered being born, right? Here the sun is exalted and also starts to die. Here it starts to die again. Here it starts to die and is considered to be born again. So Christmas is down here, right? In Capricorn. Well, the sun dies here, but is also born here. So we have like the death of the sun, and it starts to be birthed here in Aries. The whole, like Christ's entire life and everything he went through even like the crucifixion to being betrayed is all here, all of it. And that would be a really interesting like presentation. But I think Micah Dank's done a really good job on kind of showing scripturally what's happening. But he doesn't go over this very much, the path of the sun, which is really important to understand what the aspects of the sun are when it's above the ecliptic and below. For example, this is heaven, this is hell, this is life, this is death. Why? Because this is spring and summer, this is fall and winter. This is the covenant of works, the covenants of grace. Because, well, yeah, in the spring and summer, you better be working. You better get out your plow and Taurus and work. Because if you don't, when the sun comes and goes down into the depths of winter or hell, you're going to have to rely on the grace of the works that you did. These are the covenants. It's Cain and Abel. you know? Like, I think I showed you, like up here where spring and summer is, this is where you live. And then it's literally the opposite down here if you just write it backwards. Spring and summer you live. Down here is considered evil because there's snow. Okay, just kidding. I just don't like snow, but it stops you from progression. You know, it's cold and it's dark down here. The sun is considered to be weak and close to death when it's below the ecliptic line in the northern hemisphere. It's flipped the other way, right? So, and then up here you're considered where it's life and living. So depending on the culture, they're going to be celebrating one of these important places, right? They're going to be celebrating equal day, equal night, because it's a glorious day. They're going to be celebrating the solstices. And we do too. We just don't really realize exactly that's what we're celebrating. But if you look at all of the holidays, they will be associated with either the equinoxes, the solstices, or the cross quarter days. The cross quarter days, let's see. Can you see this circle up here? I can't tell. Okay. So you've got the solstices and the equinoxes, but then you also have these cross quarter days that lie here. And the Navajo New Year starts around this cross quarter day in October. So their New Year starts there, which is really, really interesting. And I think that's why I think that guy is that critter we're going to talk about. This is the cross quarter day here. Scorpio. It's a really important day to them. But directly across, this is where like Micah Dank's teachings come in, where he talks about directly across the zodiac, how there's always something associated directly across. Taurus the bull has horns. And then you've got Scorpio. And that's why that guy that I'm going to show you, as we're going to, the Yei, that's just super, super cool. The reason I think he's in Scorpio is because this is where they celebrate their new year. And there's other stuff I found I'll share too. But the horns come from here, because these share attributes in a way. Even though they're opposites, they're one, you know? It's interesting.
That's deep. Are you going to show the petroglyph now? Do you have it? Hold on.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah. I want people to see it because it's pretty cool.
Okay, let me find him. I put him.
Do you literally think that represents, that symbol, that petroglyph represents Taurus and Scorpio? Both.
I think it's a possibility, yes, because, and even if it doesn't represent Taurus, the horns are a very spiritual, protective symbol for them that I've read. So let's just take a look at this guy, because he's so cool. Do 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 do. Please insert all music. Hold on.
I'll add the Price is Right music. Or like Super Mario Brothers or something. I typed
it out for myself. Whoops, that's not Sorry, I'm trying not to make you have lots of editing, but you probably are going to have to have.
Too late for that.
Yeah, sorry.
So, tell us about this awesome panel at Crow Canyon.
Okay, so this guy is a Yei, which is from what I understand, a powerful being that usually they're associated with one of either fire, earth, air, or water. And they come with either healing powers, power of protection, spiritual stuff, just depending on which it is. I think this is probably there's kind of like the physical aspect of their petroglyphs where everything's like, this is what's happening. Like we've got the corn right next to it growing, right? But then there's also a spiritual aspect, and their horns represent spiritual protection for sure. So this guy, his name, according to the tour, was one thing, but in my research I found him to perhaps be another. So maybe we can just go over both.
Yeah, and I want to say I would like to add to that. So when I look at his legs look like the bows that are marked in multiple places. You'll see a bunch of bows, like a bow and arrow. So his legs look like bows, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 rays that come out of his back here with, it looks like a rainbow, and then 10 rays. And I don't know if that's significant, but he's definitely got the plow or something for the crops. And then there's like a hand or something above his head, which is very interesting. And then to the right of him, I can't tell if those are feet or what those are, but very interesting.
I think they're hooves.
Hooves.
It looks like hooves to me.
Okay.
But so I just have to preface with, I don't have probably the exact answer. But what I want to show, the most important thing is that growing up, I would watch like things on TV or things in school, and I was told how primitive these people were that did petroglyphs and things like that. And that never sat right with me. And maybe this looks primitive, but it is not. These Navajo knew nature in a way, and knew not only nature, but the metaphysical aspects associated with nature that, as you get to know more, don't seem so metaphysical. For example, the angles of the sun, and that we talked about. That would appear extremely metaphysical, and it is metaphysical in the way that we cannot see with our eyes exactly how it's being done necessarily. But they knew more about these things than we do now. So I think it would be wise of us to stop considering them primitive and caveman-like, because there is so much knowledge and knowing wrapped into these petroglyphs that I've just given kind of like a key that's going to help us find what they knew. But this is where the answers will be. It will be in the path of the sun along the ecliptic. It will be in the polar stars, because the Polaris was very, very important to them as well. So those that follow around Polaris and those that follow the path of the sun. But it will be found in nature and in the stars. And they knew it to a level that has blown my mind, really. So this guy, when I saw him, I thought, well, that's the sun in Aries, because he's got the horns, right? And he's got the sun on his back. So he was considered a hunchback Yei with feathers. So to me, that looks like the sun. Now, the natives that I've learned, they consider feathers to be the sun's rays. So it's both. We really have to get into like I was telling you, Rex, that We really have to get out of black and white thinking for this type of decoding or this type of work. We really have to be in a space of which I think we're moving into as a whole in general, which is and also. Because they say that is a hunchback with feathers on his back. Well, they do dress up as that, so it is that. And also, it is also a representation of the sun's rays and something to do with the sun. Because the reason that the Indians wear the feathers, like oftentimes in 3, is because they know when the sun comes up that the sun hits your head. And then a few minutes later, it hits another portion on your head. And a little while later, he hits another portion of your head. So you'll either see like 3 feathers on each side or 2 feathers on each side. That is representing angles of the sun, the feathers, as it goes down the body. But the head is very important because, as I showed in that poster, some of the most glorious, important stars are located in Aries and Taurus, which is also in our body. So I'm just showing you astrologically within the body. Aries and Taurus. The Pleiades are there, here in Taurus. So that's very, very, some of the most glorious stars that we have. And I think we'll see actually the Pleiades throughout some of this also. So
Now I
go
want
ahead.
to show a couple things real quick, if I can, while we're looking at this. I see the bear claw also, which I think might represent an actual clan, the bear clan. If you look below the feet here to the left, you can see the bear claw. And then right there. And then above, oops. There we go. Yeah. You can see, just to show how this is paying homage to the different zodiac symbols, but also the earth and growing crops. As you can see, the corn crops here, and to the left of it, you'll see the lines that are zigzag. That represents water. And then you have what looks like a step pyramid below the corn, which is actually a mountain. So to the right of that, you've got this deity, which is glorifying possibly Taurus and Scorpio, and then the sun on his back with the 10 rays, and then the bows as his feet, and then something is just like, it almost looks like a hand, but I don't know if necessarily that's what it is above the head. So you've got these different symbols, which I would say most likely are several different cultures, like that bear clan claw that could predate these symbols that appear to be maybe 500-600 years old. So they're not even really that old. And up to the right, if we scroll up to the right, you can see what looks like a couple of like an hourglass, which you showed me a constellation that most likely connects with, which is awesome. But then there's some other symbols here which are interesting. I've seen at different locations also. So I just wanted to point those out. Here, oh, there he is. Look at, there he is. Right there.
You found him?
This is the one with the, oops. Yep,
Did I do it right?
Yep,
Okay.
there he is. So what do you think this guy is?
Which one?
What? Oh, you don't see what I'm looking at right now, do you?
Mm-mm.
There we go. You changed.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. That was an accident.
No, this is perfect. You can see what looks like rays below, and another one of the guys that's been pretty much weathered out at the bottom right there. Do you see that below him?
Below the Yei?
Yeah.
The hunchback Yei?
Yeah. Below him, you see another one that's got 3 feathers, one in the center, and then the 2 horns that are coming out. And it looks like it's been mostly weathered away. I didn't see that last time we were there.
No, I didn't see it either.
That's cool. All right. So talk.
Yeah.
What do we got? What do we got here?
Okay. So, the there's a few different things that I see that bring me to what we were talking about. So corn can be representative of Virgo. Virgo holds the stalk of wheat. That's also, she can also be corn, but I think it's probably Cancer. The reason I say that is because I gotta go back to this. So in this language, there's two horns or two corns. So there's Capricorn, and then there's Cancer, and these guys were considered like horns, if you will, or corns. So when you see the you see that mountain underneath the corn. So up above the ecliptic line, this is where the ecliptic line was. This was considered the mountain of the Lord. This right here. So you've got a corn in Cancer. You've got your corn. That's corn, people. Don't judge, okay? And then this is the mountain of the Lord. I tried to draw that symbol.
Well, I could see what you did a good enough job for us to pick that up. So.
You see what I did?
Yeah.
So yes, it is a mountain. But this was anciently considered, when the sun is above the ecliptic line, the mountain of the Lord. And Cancer is considered one of the horns or the corns of the zodiac. It's a horn because it's also like it was considered like a portal. These were like portals. So the gateway of the gods was one of them, like where the gods come in, and then the gateway of man. So the gateway of man and gateway of the gods, horns or corns or gateways. And also, guess where those are? That's the solstice. That's where the sun is enthroned. So that's why I'm saying I think that this day was, it has been extremely important throughout all cultures worldwide. You can see it everywhere. They're showing you. Mountain of the Lord, solstice, the horns or the corns. There. So there's that. I got off track. Sorry, I'm supposed to be focusing on the Yei. I got off track a little bit. Okay.
No, that's okay, because we were talking about the mountain and the potential of the corn, and you were connecting it to the zodiac. So that's pretty cool.
Correct. Yes. So anything above the ecliptic, in scripture, astrotheology type talk, that is the house of the Lord, the mountain of the Lord, Zion, paradise. Where else is it? There's all kinds of names that are like glorious and beautiful. The mountain of the Lord. So that's what I see when I see that corn and I see that mountain. They're demonstrating this is representing this time, somewhere in the spring, summer, if not the solstice itself. Okay. So, but the spiritual deity, the Yei, there's two different things that I came by. One was mentioned by Diamond, and it's not wrong. This is again the and also. So this is the best example I can come up to think about to explain how it can be both. Okay, if I say to you Santa Claus, what do you think of?
Corporate America.
Yes. Okay, what holiday do you think of?
Christmas.
Okay, if I say the Grinch, what holiday do you think of?
Definitely Christmas.
Okay, so we could say Santa is Christmas and the Grinch is Christmas, and we wouldn't be wrong, okay? It's just a different expression of Christmas, okay? So Diamond mentioned one aspect of this time of year. And then there's another one that I think would also be fitting, that I feel will fit this angle of the sun, if you will, because it's an archetype of an angle of the sun. So this one, I wish I knew how to pronounce it. I'm going to do my best. Yod Kasii Yas Hai. I don't know if I did that right. Anyway, he's invoked in. Thank you. Your friend will probably be mad at me. The one you had on for podcast.
Shondell. He won't be mad at you. No, he'll appreciate you for sure.
This girl. Okay. Invoked in healing ceremonies and central to the Yei Bi Chai dance, which is a 9-night Navajo healing ceremony, known as Night Way, and it restores balance and harmony. Okay, so he represents Mars. Okay, look. Each one of these has a planetary ruler. Okay, there's considered to be a planet that rules. Okay, Mars rules Aries, who has horns, and Scorpio. Okay, so Mars bars. Mars rules here. He's the big boss there. Okay. But this character, literally in some Native American stuff I found in researching, literally represents Mars. So I thought that was cool. And
that's why he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, that's why you were like, that guy's awesome.
So cool, man. Zorg was all happy. Zorg was like, ack, we come in peace, we come in peace.
Yeah, no, because you've always loved Mars. And so there, again, it's that kind of like metaphysical aspect that our soul just recognizes things or knows things, and something in you just knew, right? And I think I have more information on him.
Well, you know what else I've noticed with this petroglyph?
Yes.
Is it appears to me that they're showing when, I don't know if they're French or Europeans coming over, but they've got swords and they're on horses, and it looks like they're getting ready to attack. So I'm wondering if these kachinas and these deities that they etched in stone to put up here were for protection from these European settlers, or like they were coming in with swords.
Yeah, very well could be. Is Shondell, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he would probably know better about this, but there are like sigils or things that are drawn out. They could be like maybe like a sigil or something for protection.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Calling in the martial things, and there's not a more powerful place to do that. All the rituals are done on the solstices and on the equinoxes. That's where rituals are done. So,
and if you're etching that in stone, you are connecting to the earth. You are connecting to source, and the connection the natives had with earth seemed to be far more advanced than we notice today. I mean, because they were living in nature. They knew nature. They felt nature much more than many people today. Not all, but it's like that is ancient magic.
Yes.
I've studied magic. I've studied most of the magic I've studied is European stuff, like ancient hermetics, and I've read a bunch of grimoires and ritualistic magic, and I've connected that to the zodiac. I've read a bunch of I shouldn't say a bunch. I've read some research into Franz Barton's work called The Keys to the True Kabbalah, which is actually representation of sounds manifesting reality. And once you get to that level where you can speak words and manifest reality with your words, you're pretty advanced. But he also has a plethora of other exercises that you have to master before you become a master of speaking words into reality. But it is very remarkable, because you look at these ancient teachings, and then we're looking at the petroglyphs, the way you're decoding the sun, the way of the sun, the path of the sun, and referencing it to the rays of the sun, the angles, the geometry, the numerology, the math. It all has this really beautiful, harmonious connection point that seems to the sun. The sun is, starts. We see it as light, but it manifests matter. It's brilliant. It's really cool.
Yes, that's exactly right. The cosmocrators, if you will, the planets, they all form certain frequencies. You've seen how they make patterns in the sky. That's what makes matter. Yeah, those frequencies.
All lines are matter.
Sound, like God spoke and it was, kind of thing. Because everything that we speak is a frequency, and a frequency is a pattern, and patterns form matter. And that's all connected to the planets and to the solstices and the equinoxes and how all of those angles of the sun work. So now that you know the path of the sun more so, and where those important dates are, all of that stuff that you've read is going to make a lot more sense, I think. Like it's just going to start clicking, because pretty much anything that you want to study, I have found, it seems like this helps. It's a light bulb. It's a foundation, a big, huge puzzle piece,
Literally a light bulb.
Yeah, literally a light bulb. The other one that I think is probably more appropriate for this hunchback Yei is called Ga'aji. It's spelled Ghaajji. Sometimes Ghaajii. Okay? That it means, like, I found a few different definitions for it, but it's October. So Scorpio is in the month of October. Okay? It's associated with Antares. Antares is the heart of the scorpion. It's a red star. And it's also associated with a story that I read you're not supposed to tell in summer months, but it involves a trickster, and it also represents a coyote star, but it's considered irreverent to speak of the story of it in the summer months. So I won't. It's sufficient to say that there's a trickster involved and a coyote, and it's associated with the coyote story and the trickster. Okay. The horns.
The coyote story that Shondell was talking about, the giant coyote. I wonder.
I'm not sure if it was a giant coyote. I just read that
regular coyote. Okay. A trickster.
I just read that it's not traditional or considered good to speak of these stories, except for in the winter. They start telling these stories on their new year in October. So to be reverent to how they do things, I won't mention more than that, but it's sufficient to cover what it is that I want to cover. So he's considered a trickster. And this guy is like, he looks like a male ram. Okay. And a male ram is like, well, it's a sheep. So let me show you this. So when the sun starts to descend down, when it gets to here, it's balanced in Libra, weighed and balanced in Libra, and then comes down here and is stung by the scorpion. Okay? Well, in the Bible, Scorpio is an archetype for Judas. So he's a trickster. So the the guy I'm talking about, this hunchback Yei, is associated with October, which is Scorpio. Okay. So what I'm saying is they have a trickster in Scorpio. Judas is considered the betrayer or the trickster of the Son of God. And so the stories just, they, you'll have to look up the stories in an appropriate time. This winter, go look it up. But it is so related to Judas, which is really interesting because he's got ram horns, and a ram is a sheep, and Judas was like a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Pretty cool. That is really cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is the same character. This is Judas, But with every archetype, there's always the good aspects, if you will, and the bad aspects, if you will. So in some tradition, in some way, you read the Bible, Judas was a hero because he was the only one Jesus could trust enough to betray him. So this Yei is the same way. He can do both parts. He can be a trickster or not, right? It just depends. Let's see, what else? Okay, so October, the word October translates to half. This is why we see a half sun on his back.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was excited when I found that. So the month of October is considered the separation of the season. So their new year begins in October, so they're basically dividing out the season. He's a divider. Okay? So he can either be a trickster or a guiding figure. Just like depending on how you look at Judas, he can be a hero or he can be a wolf in sheep's clothing, the archetype. So it's really super interesting. He embodies both mischievous and noble qualities. And sometimes he's associated with the creation of the world. And he generally has a role in shaping the world and human society. So
sounds like Enki.
Yeah, Enki, the devil.
Yeah.
Like it's always the same archetypes, no matter what. So the journey of this guy either involves to retrieve something or to overcome a challenge. So like what you were saying, like maybe they inscribed this for protection against what was happening. Well, that's a great challenge to have to overcome. And there's really no one greater to have on your team that can play like the dark side and the light side, really. Like if you're trying to win a battle, you need someone vicious that knows the ways of the dark side, if you will, to keep you safe. And this Yei, I think, is this Ga'anji Scorpio. I know I was married to one. Like the best one to have on your side and the worst one to be your enemy. So anyway,
wow. So, Angela, how do you feel about being a guest on Leak Project again in a few weeks? Talking about some more. I'm sure that we could talk for hours. I would really.
I'd love to. Yeah, okay. It'd be great. Sorry, I yacked on too long. I can focus just on these. There's a lot to say about them, but that's a taste of what it is that I saw when I was there. Yeah.
Let's do a follow-up in a few weeks because this is amazing.
Okay.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah. And I am so appreciative of you putting this together, taking the time, and just everything you've done to compile this information. This is fantastic. This is one of the best interviews that I've done in reference to decoding ancient language that's right in front of us. The the symbolism, connecting to magic and the way of the sun. This is absolutely brilliant. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And be the change the world needs to see, will you?
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Thanks to everybody for being here. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you soon. Hit that bell for all notifications. Check us out on Patreon. And most importantly, be the change the world needs to see. Starts with you. Real quick, check us out over on Patreon. Why? Because I have hundreds of hours of exclusive content, ad-free, uncensored, unedited, stuff that we can only talk about on Patreon. Beyond the cutting edge, and you'll get access to it for only $1 a month. And if there's an interview that you want me to do, a guest that you want me to get on the show, or a topic that you want me to discuss, if you leave a comment over on Patreon, I'll do my best to get that guest on the podcast or that subject. And I'll even do my best to get back to you here on YouTube. And your contributions greatly help Leak Project. So check us out over on Patreon, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel here and hit the bell for all notifications, and check back daily for new podcasts, because we upload podcasts pretty much every single day. And has anyone told you today that you're awesome? Because you are.